aboard. This is Progressive Insider. This has been a long series discussing how Democratic leadership has kind of failed, and we're talking to all the people set out to replace them. Now, today we have with us Jennifer Christie, which we're really going to focus on the Jennifer there today, from Indiana's 5th. And Jennifer, before I say hello and have you say hi, I just want you and the audience to know this is my first Indiana interview, so I am very excited. Jennifer, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So Jennifer, you're running in the 5th district, and we were talking before you got started that, because you said Jennifer Christie, we get a lot of people with really amazing, complex names. They're just fantastic candidates, and it's amazing how much the name game, it plays into it. Now, you have a candidate running against you that appears to be trying to take advantage of that a little bit?
No, not at all. We're just trying to make sure that everyone knows that I'm first on the ballot, and my name is Jennifer. Because, we're not able to get out and knock doors like we were. We started knocking doors in early January. And of course, due to the coronavirus pandemic, we do a lot by phone and text and mail now. And so we're doing everything to make sure that people know the difference between the candidates. There are 5 names on the Democratic ballot, and there are 15 Republicans. So there's a lot for voters to think about and process. So they really need to understand, who they're voting for. So we just really make sure that they know first on the ballot, Jennifer, and I am the only progressive in the race.
Oh, well, that's amazing to hear. And that really, at least hopefully that we won't have the progressive vote getting split up. A couple things that are interesting. There is a race in Georgia, I believe it's Georgia or South Carolina. It's right on the border of the two, that whoever's first on the ballot wins every time. There's no sense about it. They intentionally stuff the top of the ticket with the no-name candidate to keep a ghost Democrat, to keep the Republican in power. Yeah. So that's a real thing. I don't know how it is in Indiana. Now, as you can see by the start of this questioning process, I know nothing about Indiana or what's going on there. So why don't you tell me what's the biggest issue? Because we talk about COVID a lot here, so that's an obvious big issue, and you guys are right in the middle of a lot of hot spots. But what's the big issue for Indiana on top of that, and maybe how they're playing together?
Yeah, in terms of COVID-19, what our state has done is we have had a mandatory quarantine period, which is ending for a lot of counties and beginning to end for others. And it changes what you do in a campaign, and of course has made a lot of changes to people's lives. So it's first and foremost on people's minds. So healthcare has always been a top issue in the nation and certainly here in Indiana, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I think it is really top of mind for everyone. So we've been talking a lot about that because I'm the only candidate to support Medicare for all. And I think it's clearer now than ever that we need Medicare for all and a single-payer universal healthcare system.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I've taken kind of an odd stance on this whole thing because I'm like, well, we should both, and my partner, Carrie, hates it, but I'm like, we should just fund everything. Every system that we have right now, all of it, just toss as much money into it until we can get people the treatment and help that they need. And it's disappointing that we don't have more candidates out talking about that. Now, how well did you see a change in positive action towards a single-payer health, or positive opinion towards a single-payer health care system from the public now that we're seeing what a disastrous system it is, tying it directly to our jobs?
I think in general, yes, I think so. And I talk a lot about why I support that. I support it because I believe healthcare is a human right. And I also believe it is the most sustainable way to assure healthcare and guarantee it as a human right for every man, woman, and child. My opponents support a public option or expanding the Medicare system, but none of them support the Medicare for all bill. And that's a mistake because a public option is not sustainable. It's all cost and no efficiency. And what Medicare for all does is it gains us the efficiency that we need to be able to have a sustainable, truly single-payer healthcare system that guarantees quality healthcare to every man, woman, and child. And that people are seeing. I think with health being top of mind, it's what we talk about most. I'm also running on important issues like climate action. I'm the only candidate to have released a climate agenda. I'm the only scientist in the race. And so I have a climate agenda that specifically goes through specific actions that will decarbonize America and the world to save the planet. And those are all things that top environmentalists have supported along with economists, including ending fossil fuel subsidies for all current and future subsidies, implementing a carbon fee and dividend, and banning fracking, transitioning away from coal, investing in innovation, upgrading all of our infrastructure. And so there are people here as well as all over the place that have been fighting this fight for a long time because we're running out of time to solve this crisis. And COVID-19 is claiming a lot of lives and it's causing a lot of damage to our people, and the suffering is bad, but you know what? It'll be worse with climate change if we are unprepared for that. So we've got to take this stuff seriously.
I totally agree with you. Here at Progressive Insider, we cover an issue a lot that gets left aside is just environmental injustice, environmental racism, and
Yes.
they're tied directly to all these greenhouse gas problems because it's the same gases that are poisoning our environment that are also poisoning the people because somebody has to breathe that air. And so it's really important to discuss that because those are the people that are dying of COVID so quickly. Why is it affecting people of color? Because they have more environmental racism, more environmental injustice. So I'm so excited to hear that we're talking to a candidate right now that cares so much about that. Now, what type of scientist are you exactly?
So I spent my career in chemistry and biology. So I worked as an environmental chemist, and then I went into advocacy and did some environmental advocacy. And then I worked for over a decade as a process improvement leader and innovation leader in clinical trials.
Wow. So you actually have a really, would be a really great voice to bring to the table right now as we talk about relief actions and how to properly deal with any type of vaccine. The concept of vaccine is still a very is it really going to be a vaccine or is it going to be some sort of suppressing treatment that we deal with? But we need scientists that understand how this stuff works so that we're not having lobbyists write our laws, because right now, I mean, that's the problem with progressives. We don't have lobbyists to write our bills, so we don't have as many bills as the other guys. So for you as a scientist, where does it all start? Where's the first step in you get into Congress and you want to say that we're trying to move this forward? What's like the crucial item that people need to keep on their agenda that you want to move on?
Well, let's assume, and I think we will still be dealing with COVID-19 in January. It'll matter an awful lot who's in Congress. And, some of the things that we've started to do should have, of course, happened before. We are in a very reactive mode right now, and so top priority is to make sure that we have proper PPE for all of our doctors, nurses, hospital staff. There just needs to be an abundance of that. We need to guarantee health care for everyone in this country because people will not go to the doctor if they don't have the coverage, and they may potentially be passing it along that way, or they'll go to work and get sick or get someone else sick because they're afraid to lose that coverage. We have over 30 million people who have filed for unemployment who are now unemployed. With that job went their health care. And so it's obvious more now than ever that we need to provide universal health care for everyone. And what should be totally obvious to every person on the planet is that your neighbor's health and well-being matters an awful lot. And even if you do it for selfish reasons, we need to do it. So that is top priority, is to get universal health care, make sure that we have the proper PPE, that we are spending money in the right places on our people, on our frontline defense, which is PPE, ventilators, and developing a vaccine or treatment. Having worked in clinical trials, to do it in a year is super fast. And so this is with us for a long time. We have got to be able to deal with that. I'm also calling for a universal basic income because we need to make sure that people have their basic needs met. We just compound the problem when we don't do that, because then we have more hunger, more homelessness. This is an unprecedented time, and it requires an unprecedented reaction from us.
Yeah, there's a funny thing happening where people don't realize, and what you just said is so, so important to everyone watching this. The talk of a universal basic income or universal basic, whatever we're going to call it, the money distributed by the government via the people is a crucial
Mhm.
part of this system because it's about money distribution. And everyone watching this, we talk a lot about. It's another thing we cover a lot on the show and in all these interviews. So you got to remember that putting that money is the most. So GDP, and you can correct me on this, but GDP is based on purchasing power. And so if people can't purchase, if the government, the economy is going to collapse with money directly in the people's hands, and not enough people are saying this. Not enough people running for Congress are talking about how important it is. They talk about these relief checks or means testing or any of these crazy things, and it's not a sustainable measure, which I really enjoy, Jennifer. Everything that you're saying today is from a sustainable perspective, and there's some scientific method into a process and how you came to these things. There are so many people that you speak to that they don't have a clear idea, they don't have a clear agenda. And what I'm hearing from you is a lot of clarity. Even when I asked you, what's your number one perspective after explaining what you just explained, it's almost a bit of a trick question. And you stuck your guns, you stuck with it, and you stuck about what was important to you. And it might have felt like maybe is she repeating herself? No, this is what matters. And I just think that's so, so important. So right now, we're early in the video still. What can people do right now to get involved? We're not going to the end of the video. Let's do a little plug for your campaign right now so we can get people directed at you, Facebook, whatever it's going to be. So let's do that right now. Like, how can people get involved?
The easiest thing to do is to go to jenniferforindiana.com, and that's all spelled out, JENNIFERFOR Indiana.com. You can sign up to volunteer. You can donate. We need help. We're pushing through. We have 14 days until our election.
Wow, 14 days. It's people really, Progressive really underestimated the June 2nd push that we got, where everything got moved June 2nd. Was a huge benefit, but people kind of sat on their hands for the process. And I'm hoping in these next 14 days, you have a phone bank set up, I assume?
Yep, whole bunch of them.
Whole bunch of them. Make sure we get that info from you before we leave so we can put it on our stuff. And I'm going to put it out personally in my own way. But, getting on these phone banks and getting engaged is so, so, so important. So Indiana, what are the roadblocks for someone running for office in Indiana besides there's apparently 50 candidates? And one question, what's your registration like? You said there were 15 candidates happening there. Is it open registration?
Okay, so a couple of things. We had our election was supposed to be on May 5th. And of course, like many places, it was changed due to COVID-19. So what our governor did is allowed what we call a no excuse absentee. And that means that you can vote absentee by mail with no excuse. Our deadline is coming up for you to request your absentee ballot. So you don't automatically get your ballot. You have to request it through an application form. And that deadline comes up on the 21st, here in a couple of days. And so 2 of our counties in our district actually mailed out application forms to everyone, all of the registered voters, which was wonderful. And then other counties did not. So we're, obviously educating people and encouraging people to vote in that way for their safety in this election. And so one of the things that we're finding is that those ballot request forms are not always getting processed quickly where there are a lot of requests. So that's one of the things we're really looking into now, is what we can do to help with that. In terms of it being an open, in Indiana, you don't register as a Republican or a Democrat. They determine where you are based on your primary vote. So when you go into a primary, you ask for either a Republican or a Democratic ballot, and that goes on your voting history. And so people are not obligated to vote on the same ballot year after year, although many do, some do not. So it's open registration.
Interesting. Yeah, that'll definitely, that'll always open things up because you can basically cross lines with people. And as COVID changes people's opinions, people are going to walk up to that ballot when they choose that moment. What they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And I think that's really important in these situations, especially when there's 15 Republicans to choose from. And how many Democrats are there in the race?
There are 5 names on the Democratic ballot, and I believe there's 15 Republicans on the ballot. So it's an open seat. So Susan Brooks is the current Congresswoman, and she has decided to retire. And I actually didn't know that when I registered to run. She announced that 9 days after I filed.
Clearly afraid of you. I'm sure that's like she saw you coming and was like, whoa. Those are interesting races because generally, unless there's like a clearly coronated person from one to the other, that if there's multiple people in the race, that usually benefits the progressive. We saw that in Florida for the governorship there last time, where they split their vote into the ground. That was very predictable. It's very funny when it happened. Didn't work out, but it doesn't matter. The point is that for you and your race, this sounds like a really good opportunity and something that's worthwhile for people to get invested in and spend some time on. And there aren't that many. I mean, how many districts are there in Indiana in general?
Oh, I would have to look that up for you,
Okay.
honestly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
That's okay. I just would want to give you the right information. I've been so focused on District 5.
Well, that's a good sign. That's a good sign, because I've seen a lot of people also campaign outside of their district, and you're like, why did you set foot outside of your district at all? I don't understand that at all. But
well, during your race, especially one like this, it is a flippable seat. So we have a chance not only to flip a seat in November, but to flip a seat with a progressive and have someone go in and fight for Medicare for All and fight for a Green New Deal. And so it's huge. Yeah, open seat, flippable seat.
So what was the thing that made you run in the first place? So let's go backtrack a little bit. You're a scientist. You're upset with the thing. You didn't know the seat was going to be open, so you were ready to throw, a challenge on. What was it that was your trigger? What made you run?
Well, I will be very honest that I have never thought I would run for Congress. I'm a mom of 4 young children. I've enjoyed, all of my time with them, and still enjoy all of my time with them. It's my favorite part of my life. And I'm a scientist and have enjoyed my career. I currently teach community science classes, and I enjoy that very much. But what I saw was a lack of leadership on the most critical issues of humankind. We are talking about no less than the survival of our planet. And we have yet to see one bill come through Congress to specifically address the carbon we're putting in the atmosphere. I mean, now would be the perfect time to implement a carbon fee, right? If you really want to solve the problem. But I don't see that. And I have 4 little kids I got to look in the eye, and I couldn't look at that, to be honest with you. So I didn't think I would be running for Congress, but I'm unwilling to accept the direction that we're going. That's the bottom line.
I like that intensity. They snuck in there at the very end. You're all happy and smiling. I saw that. You actually looking up at your 4 kids, look with big doughy eyes. Mommy, but what about the environment? And I saw it. I saw that fire. That's the thing that makes me run for. Well, there's a saying in politics that I'm finding to be less true with progressives, that all the candidates are crazy, because it's what makes them think they can win in the first place. And there's a new type of craziness, and it's the drive, the intensified drive of recognizing that change is required, and we don't have the leadership at the moment to do it. And that is the number one reason to step up, because you're not stepping up for power, you're stepping up for policy. And that's just such an important reason to be doing things. Everyone feels like they have the plan and they have the thing, and ooh, me, but it's not about that. The best person is often not the person who wants to do it. And so I'm really happy you stepped up and did that. And I'm sure your children are very grateful at some point when this all worked. Well, maybe not your children, other people's children. You know how children can be. Like my kid.
My kids are absolutely wonderful. They're like my best cheerleaders, and they kind of understand what I'm doing, but I don't think it's completely clear at this point to them. But they're big supporters.
Yeah, that's good. Mommy's number one. I can see from all the fan art you have behind you.
Yes.
It's definitely so. I knew you had multiple kids. I'm like, there's a couple styles going on there.
Yes. Yeah, rainbows. We have a castle. This is fruit up here. I think that's an orange and a banana dancing. Earth and a bird. And this is me and my daughter. And
what's interesting about it? All environmentally tinged. Plants, you got environment, you got the earth, you got the stuff. You're already teaching your kids about what's important and what the priority is. And that's the same thing, because we need someone in Congress to teach the other congressional members and some people in America, and treat them like their children a little bit, and not their bastard child that they try to ignore. They really need to be spending that sort of thoughtfulness on the willingness. we need the fear, like the American people are all those children lined up with their welled up eyes. And that's what I see. That's what drives me to do what I do. And I think that's what drives a lot of progressives, is that feeling of these people are being underrepresented. And that's why it's really important to support candidates like Jennifer in Indiana's 5th district as the only progressive running for office against 5 Democrats, and the only one running on Medicare for All, which honestly, you don't even need to be progressive to run on Medicare for All anymore, because it's not a progressive idea. It's just not. It's a basic human need. I think that we calling it a human right might be a mistake. And I know it's a human right, but I think that calling it a human right is a mistake, because it's even more important than that. It's a basic human necessity. It's a basic human need. And it's not just like you need food, you need water, you need medical care. It's not that they all go together. And I think that when we say it's a human right, because food isn't technically a human right? You know what I'm saying? I'm having this process right now. Carrie will kill me for saying this later. So, and giving you time to wipe those tears away. So, I'm actually going to keep this interview short, Jennifer, because this has been really to the point. It's been very heartfelt. I think it's been very real. We're seeing the real you. You have only a few days until your campaign, and I don't want a long video that's going to we want people to watch this. We want to help what is happening. So I want people to get involved. I want you to think about phone banking. I want you to think about doing this stuff for Jennifer. It's very easy. We're calling her by her first name, so it's just super. We're all family here, guys. So Jennifer, let's plug that information for everyone one more time, please.
Yeah, go to my website. It's jenniferforindiana.com. And again, that's all spelled out, JENNIFERFOR, Indiana.com.
And is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here? I don't know, last word, anything like that?
I think that kindness and courage never go out of fashion. I don't know what the word is. But we need to just keep fighting with a lot of kindness and a lot of courage, because the things that we're fighting for climate change solutions, for climate justice, for healthcare for all, for education for all. I mean, these are all things that would transform the world. Imagine what our world would be like if we achieved these things for each other. We can become our best selves. And so do it for future generations. I like to think about, we have people who've lived for a long time before us, and in a short span of time, we've done a lot of damage to the planet. And we owe it to the people who come after us, both in these next generation and the 47th or 48th generation afterwards. We actually owe it to them to do a good job and solve the problems that we have created. And so I think that all of this is done with a lot of kindness and courage. We need to start leading with science and having good discussions that are solution oriented. We need to just put politics aside and start focusing on solutions. And I believe we're capable of doing that, but it doesn't start until we model that way. And so that's what I plan to do.
I love it. I love it so much. You actually just said something very powerful to me that has affected me a great deal, and it was very distracting from that point forward. And it was the very first thing you said to me, and that was courage with kindness. And yeah, I think I missed that, the kindness part. And though I have experienced kindness and I have demonstrated courage, I haven't done the best job at tying courage and kindness together. And I think that there's something really to say about when you're there to help people, you're trying to help the person you're trying to talk to right then too. And I think we forget that in the process. And so it's keeping that kindness in is so, so important. And I think you might have actually just solved a lot of people's problems with me, Jennifer. Let's see what I can do about it. So Jennifer, I want to thank you again so much for being here. Jennifer Christie, Indiana's 5th District. Please get out and donate. Check out her website. Complain about something, because that's what progressives do. Then pick up the phone and start making calls. And that's going to be it for us, guys. I am Don Ford. This has been Progressive Insider. Thank you for watching.
Thanks.